Hello and welcome to another episode of Golden Nuggets with Silvia Eldawi. Today I'm joined by Bianca D'Alessio, who is the #1 real estate agent in New York and ranked top 14 in the nation in 2022. She is the founder and managing director of Nest Seekers.
Of the Masters division.
The Masters division, which is a part of Nest Seekers.
Yes.
You're going to have to explain the whole setup to us.
I'll explain it all.
Okay, tell us what the setup is, and I want to know how you got into it as well.
Okay, so
Because we've got a lot to learn from the US. So I'm so privileged to have had this opportunity to grab you on the show.
I'm so excited
and
to be
we're going to
here.
learn a ton from you. So yeah, tell us
Awesome.
how it works.
So I'm a licensed real estate broker in New York City. I run and manage one of the largest teams in the United States. We're about 50 agents based out of New York City. We service multiple markets, and my team is the Masters division.
Because that's how they have like brokers under brokerages.
Yes, exactly.
And you have a team.
So Nest Seekers is the brokerage, and then I have a team within that.
Okay.
Most teams in the United States are normally named after the team lead or the
Right.
founder. What was really important to me was to empower my team and to not feel like my team was building my brand,
Got
but
it.
we were building a collective brand. So there
The
comes
sacrifices you
the
make.
Masters division.
Brilliant. What a name. And also you are the star of Selling
The Hamptons.
the Hamptons on
Yes.
HBO.
Season 2.
Season 2 is out now.
Yes, it is.
I don't know if we can watch it in the UAE. I think we have some kind of HBO equivalent, but
I think so too. I don't know if it'll be here yet, but soon. I'm
Okay.
confident in it.
And we met at the International Property Show, which happens once a year in Dubai. And actually, you just did a talk on reality TV shows, and you're coming into season 2 now. There's a difference between season 1 and season 2. Tell us the difference. What we can expect?
Well, first of all, we filmed season 2 about a year and a half ago. Season 1, my team was not even a thought in my brain. My team came to be in between the transition period of filming for season 1. So the transformation of my business and just me as a woman, as a leader in everything, I'm a completely unrecognizable person
Wow.
from who I see on camera. So it's still like a little bit of a reality shock
Yeah.
to me. But that's really the biggest difference. So, it's exciting to see how it all plays out because I have no creative control on how it's edited or what
Yeah.
actually airs. So it's
And
all
they do
surprise-
just take the juicy parts,
Of course
right?
they do. Of course they do.
And it's not scripted.
It is not scripted. It is not scripted at all.
So let's go back in history because I've always noticed that nobody ever grows up wanting to be a real estate agent.
No.
We all land in it somehow. How did you get into it?
So I spent some time traveling. I spent a lot of time traveling, and then I found myself in the non-for-profit space. During that, I was doing leadership development with women. I was traveling to different college campuses around the entire United States, just hosting workshops on building confidence and team building and emotional intelligence, and I loved it. It was amazing. I quickly realized I didn't want to work for a non-for-profit. And so during that time period, and I was traveling, I said, what can I do that I can work on while I'm not in the city that I'm going to land in? So I got my real estate license, right?
The most for-profit
Exactly.
role ever. Yeah.
I was like, I need to make money first and then donate my time and money later.
yeah.
I will have far more impact when I do that. So I got my real estate license day 1 back in New York City, ended up at a brokerage firm, and it's just been a really rapidly evolving journey ever since.
Ever since. And how many years have you been in the industry?
I've been in the industry about 8.5 years now.
Okay, all right. And so what would you say are the major milestones in your career that got you to #1 in New York City, which has got to be, I mean, we're not going to say Dubai is the capital of the world yet, but New York, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. So how did you make it? What were the points where you're like, I'm going to be #1? How did
So
that?
if you asked me year 1 in real estate, if I would continue to be in this career, I would have said no, because I made no money. I was running around, and I look at that as my year of working for free.
Was it a year of,
It was
of no?
It was a year of my first year. I made $11,000.
Do the maths.
Working 7 days a week. I have always employed the thought of first one in, last one out. And that's just still the way that I work today. So it was essentially pennies on the dollar. But I learned so much. I landed myself with 2 very, very impressive real estate brokers who took me under their wing, who taught me so much, who really mentored and coached me. And the biggest thing that I learned in that first year was it was about confidence. And I had none. I had no confidence. And so how could you sell yourself when you don't believe in yourself? It wasn't really until year 2 that I started coming into like, okay, I understand the transaction process. I understand my salesmanship abilities. And then in year 3, I said, okay, I think I may actually be good at this. But it really wasn't until I would say 2.5, 3 years ago when I started my team that I felt like this was my career forever. And like, this is what I was supposed to be doing.
Right.
And so that's kind of the bigger milestone evolution process of how it's all transpired.
And you took that team to number 1
Yes.
in New York.
Yes.
Was that like one big contract that you signed or a multitude of
No, so my
successes?
business is all transaction volume. So we do between 600 and 800 transactions a year. Hopefully in this year we'll be closer to 1,000. And the bulk of my business is development marketing. So I work with developers from site acquisition. The moment they acquire a plot of land, I do all of the pre-construction advisement and planning. Right. So from sourcing the marble to designing the floor plans to building the amenity package, I work hand in hand with the developer.
So you're literally from blueprint to sellout.
Yes, and it takes years. So that process could be from 1 year to a small building to I just sold the last unit of a 338 unit building on a project I've been working on since 2017. So, it's a long life cycle.
Did you have it guaranteed in 2017 or is it a case of you could have done all the hard work and then they choose someone else?
If you don't perform, they can choose someone else.
Yeah,
and so it's the constant pressure. And that's very, very hard for a lot of agents to understand is you are only as good as your last deal.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's a common saying in the industry, you're only as good as your last deal. And one thing that I've picked up from watching $1 Million Listing and selling Sunset and so on is now developers are getting really aggressive when it comes to pricing and you're having to kind of reformulate, it's like, we're going to break records here.
Yes.
How do you have the confidence to go with it? Or are you sitting them down saying, no, this is unrealistic. Let's be reasonable.
The number one question I ask all of my clients is, what is your goal? I will develop the strategy for how we get there. For some developers, it's about building a trophy project, a trophy product, something that's going to break records and shatter everything that's ever happened on the market.
Ego play.
Ego. Yeah. For others, they want to be in and out and they want to move on to the next one. So both of those directions, and there's a million other options in between, they have very, very different strategies of how we get there. The most important thing is making sure that the developer understands my strategy, that there's honest and constant communication and transparency, and that we're in alignment. The moment we start to fall out of alignment, I know I'm going to have a problem. Right. So we're either recalibrating or it's time to that we may need to go our separate directions, because if you don't trust in me to get to the end goal, and there's not that communication, honesty, but it's just not going to be a successful project.
Yeah. So you're the equivalent of what they call off-plan brokerage.
That's a lot of, exactly. That is a lot of what I do.
And do you have people in your team that do leasing, secondary market or ready sales? So
my team services everything from entry-level rentals to 50, 60, $100 million transactions. And I like it that way. Yeah. Most brokers don't do that. They specialize, they have a niche, they segment the market. I want my team to be able, and my agents to be able to be well-rounded in the business that they practice, and also to create longevity in their career. So if someone comes to me as a rental agent, but eventually wants to move into sales, or if someone only wants to be in the luxury market, but then the luxury market shifts and they want to start to pivot and work with first-time home buyers, we are able to speak every single language and service everyone. So no business leaves our door.
Okay, because part of the fun of watching these reality TV shows, one part of the role that looks super fun, which I feel like you're missing out on, is all the staging that goes on. You don't do that.
We do some of it. We do some of it. For our development properties, we always have staged
show
units.
apartment,
Exactly, a show apartment, a model. Or we get to do what's even more fun is building out an entire showroom for a building and create an experience through video and content. And that's a whole other world of its own.
Because that's really selling the dream. Because
absolutely.
It's something that's not built, not ready. You really have to sell on the numbers, on the vision, and you have to get people to see.
And on the community and the lifestyle that you would have by building and by owning and growing your family in that building.
And have you noticed, especially in the last couple of years, a rush of different nationalities? And have you had to adapt to that? Because in Dubai, we're dealing with 95% of the transactions are foreigners. So you've got to kind of adapt your style to...
So we feel waves in the New York City and in the Hamptons markets with different international pockets of the world coming and investing in New York City. A lot of my business pre-pandemic was from Asia. Then, a lot of the money restrictions happened in China. We felt that halt. Then we started feeling a lot of Russian money coming in, and we continue to feel different pockets of the world re-entering the New York City market.
What's flavor of the month?
Right now, China is heavily, we're seeing a lot of Chinese buyers back in New York City. We've been feeling that for the past 6 to 8 months. So there's definitely something happening there. And I think it's just because there's been a good opportunity for all cash buyers to take advantage of the New York City market because of what we're seeing with interest rates.
And what I would say kind of is that this region in particular could learn from the US is you've been doing it for 8 years. Most agents in Dubai have probably been doing it. I think we've got 15,000 brokers now. Wow. Of those 15,000, 7,000 of them are post-COVID. So they've only known an up market, right? It's just been getting better and better and better. They have not experienced...
Easy to make deals.
Right. So we know, coming from US, UK, real estate is very cyclical. And I fear that a lot of real estate agents are not prepped for the cycles, the downturn. So how do you ebb and flow? When do you start? Talk to us about kind of what are the points at which hold on, something's coming. Yeah. Or when there's an election year, for example, like how does it change and dip for you and how do you adapt?
So I think with my team, it's very important to stay positive and optimistic, but also realistic and help. Most people don't have the long-term vision for their career because we live in a world of instant gratification, right? But real estate, it's building a foundation that continues to build and grow year over year. Yeah. Those are the best brokers in the business, the ones who have staying power, the ones who have been in it for a long time.
Like you said, had you not stayed after your first year making $11,000, you wouldn't be where.
Absolutely. And year over year, it's been the same exact story of, I think I know what I'm going to have in the future, but I don't really know. But I know is if I continue taking care of the work will take care of me, and clients will always come back when you treat them right. So for my team, it's giving them the perspective, especially agents who have been in it for the shorter term, the perspective of the market cycles and that the best brokers always make money,
irrespective.
Even it does not matter. And the people who are on my team, you're with the best. So there's a level of confidence, but you have to own that. And that comes with the confidence that we were talking about before of understanding your positioning in the market, having the transaction volume, having the market share that we have, and leveraging that to get more business and to give buyers and sellers confidence that you really are working with the best. So I think that's very important, but I think that is a huge problem for agents who come into the business and they think it's so easy to make money because they don't know how to structure those difficult deals. They don't know how to think and do really creative work to make sure you never let any deal fall apart. And that's just, it's a shift in your mindset of listen, I'm never going to let any deal die until it's really like there's no reviving it.
Yeah.
I will give it all I have.
Exactly. I actually, when I was an agent, I'm guilty of letting go very easily. So I would be like, no, if it's not for them, it's not for them. Don't force it. Don't try and push. So I never pushed people. They said, no, I wouldn't push. Are you a pusher?
Oh, I'm a pusher.
Okay.
Oh, I'm 100% a pusher. I'm a pusher, and I believe in creating urgency. And that's something I didn't really realize how little people lack urgency until my business grew to the point that it is today. I think I read a statistic that only 2% of the world operates with a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And I am always telling people urgency does not mean creating panic. It means doing what you said you're going to do when you said you're going to do it, and moving with force through life so people take you seriously and they want to be on your side because they know you get shit done.
Yeah.
People want to work with me because they know if they're working with me, it is getting done.
Getting done.
And so you have to move through life with that. And when you do that, just different synergies and deals happen because you're not taking no for an answer. Because if someone wants something, it's easy to throw your hands up and just walk away versus thinking, okay, how do we problem solve here to make it work for everyone?
And what tends to happen on election years? Because you've got that every 4 years, so you've gone through a few. What adjustments do you make on election year?
Yeah, there's always going to be a lot of uncertainty in the market. The last few elections have been more
entertaining. To say the least.
What a great word! More entertaining than others.
It is a shit show.
There you go.
Like looking from the outside, it's a complete shit show.
Absolute disaster. And everyone knows that. Everyone feels that. And I don't think anyone thinks that it's getting better. We will fully expect it to be another show in this next election. But I think, what's propping us up right now is, Q4 was the worst market that we've seen in 30 years.
Okay.
It's a really hard statistic for a lot of people to grapple with. It was in the beginning of the fall, they were saying it was the worst market New York City had seen since 9/11.
Right.
Which is crazy. No one bought real estate in New York City following 9/11. Now you look back, the numbers have come out. It was the worst market transaction volume wise since 1995.
And the press exacerbates it.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like
that gets in everyone's head.
Right.
Why would I sell? Why would I sell? But what that really means is their lives are still changing. They still need new homes.
Right.
So we're going to have all of this. Inventory levels are still low. We are going to have crazy pent up demand from people who just did not transact last year. And that's exactly what we're feeling right now. Right. So it's bracing for that impact. And I think that will carry us through for the most part of the election. But historically, election years are always down. And then after the inauguration, we start to feel that pick up.
So kind of people stop any major decisions. They don't put their houses on the market.
They don't necessarily stop. They just get nervous because they don't know what's going to happen to property values. And if you haven't committed to putting your home on the market now and you're going to go through the election process, it just creates more uncertainty, and nobody wants to be in an uncertain market when you're selling your home.
Right. And another thing that I love about the US model of brokerage is that you have buyer's agents and you have seller's agents, which is, it's arguable that how can you truly represent both parties, which is what we do in Dubai. You're working for the buyer and the seller, unless you're doing a split commission with another agent. How do you decide which team you're going to play for, i.e. being a buyer's agent or a seller's agent? And how do you as a team leader identify what would make someone a good seller's agent versus a buyer's agent?
Totally. So I think I have to segment my business into 3 different categories, because there's development agents, which is a whole breed of its own. And then there's the seller's agent, and then there's buyer's agents. I think we call it resales. You call it ready.
Ready or secondary.
Secondary, exactly. So to be in that market, it's a long-term play because those homes take a lot longer to transact. That's just how New York City real estate works. We don't sell properties or sell out buildings in an hour like you do.
Like we do,
And so it's having someone who's going to hold someone's hand, the emotional intelligence, the capacity, the patience to deal with the roller coaster of that life cycle working with a seller.
Yeah.
On the buy side, it's having someone who's going to be a little bit more forceful, a little bit more aggressive, someone who's going to take the time to coach someone through the process, but also push them when they need to be pushed and pull back when they should be pulling back. So there are definitely two different types of skill sets.
Yeah.
I see a lot more crossover with the buyer and seller side because it's easier to work directly with buyers and sellers. However, development agents,
It's a whole different.
and that's a game of strategy.
And you've got to know numbers.
It's analytics and it's strategy. You need to understand, hundreds of floor plans that are different.
Yeah.
Buyer preference from the first moment they walk through the door, so you can be targeting and narrowing in and focusing someone. You can't give someone 10 options in one building. You need to give them 3 or 4, but you need to make sure that those 3 or 4 out of 4 or 500 are the right ones. So it's really quick decision making. And it's being very, very numbers driven.
And one thing that you will find that off-plan agents here, they tend to just stick to very basic questions when they're qualifying someone. In fact, I don't even think much qualification happens beyond what's your budget, how many bedrooms, and I think that's it. Cash or mortgage.
My first question is, how do you live? How do you live?
Good question.
Are you an entertainer? Do you watch TV with your family every night in your living room? Is there separate spaces? Do you work from home? How do you live? Because that immediately off the bat determines what floor plan would work for them.
And that's such an open question
and you learn so much about someone. Oh, I need to wake up with the sunrise. Okay, then we need an Eastern exposure. I love to watch the sunset when I have dinner because I host dinner parties. Okay, and I live outside. Okay, so it's that constant filtering through asking questions and having conversation.
I'm going to need to know what your second and third questions are.
So that's very, very important.
So question number 1, how do you live?
Yeah.
Next.
I want to understand why are you currently searching?
Okay.
Understanding life circumstance.
When was the last time you asked why? Just don't ask why.
You have to.
Right?
The budget. What I find is people's budgets change when they find something they love. They push
all of a sudden
they pull back. Exactly.
Right.
They find something they love. So you have to identify the emotional reason. And in development specifically, when it is so analytical and strategy oriented, people lose the emotional component of sales. But you have to pull yourself back to, why is someone moving? They're getting divorced. They're having another baby. They just got a promotion at their job. Okay, so now they want the really impressive apartment to showcase, this new promotion they have. There's, the understanding the mentality behind someone's decision making is crucial.
And then actioning that.
Absolutely.
Because, for example, someone could say, okay, why are you moving? And they say, I'm getting a divorce. If they're not listening, which 9 times out of 10 they're not.
They're not.
Okay, great.
Okay, great.
Question,
Exactly.
what's your budget? So you've got to
Respond.
respond to that and take that into account. People love talking about themselves. So if they say they're having a baby, guess what? The next couple of questions have got to be about that baby.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
And then my third question is, I always want to understand how long they've been looking for and what they've seen and what they've liked.
Okay.
Because most of the time, if they're working with another agent, I don't ever assume that another agent is going to do a good job. Unfortunately, that is the reality. So I want to help put the pieces together. What else have you seen? What else have you been how long have you been looking for? I have people who say they've been looking for 6 years. Oof. Okay, you're not a real buyer. Great, I'm going to give you the best tour. We're going to be friends at the end of this, but I know you're not. Versus, we just started looking. We're super aggressive. Our baby's coming in 60 days, and we need to be in because we want our crib. That's a totally different ballgame.
What do you call those?
What?
Like hot buyers, or what do you call them? Hot leads, or
I would say a hot lead.
Okay,
yeah. And so all questions that point to motivation, education level, questions that lead to much bigger conversations than checkbox questions.
Yeah. And you notice how none of your top 3 questions involve finance.
No.
Nothing to do with budget. If they called you about a property, or you know they can
you're assuming that they could buy. You know? You're assuming that they're an educated buyer who is able to afford what they're looking for. We don't get a lot of people wasting our time. And all of the finance questions come later, because then I will actually sit down with someone and say, let me help you structure the deal. So now let's talk about the numbers. Do you need to go through a bank? Let me connect you with someone. Let's start negotiating. This is how we're going to put together an offer that I know will be accepted. This is where you should start. This is where we're going to land. Holding someone's hand to walk them through the process, because no matter what side I'm on, the goal of everyone is to transact. Yeah. So how do I make sure that I'm working with the mindset of we are going to transact here, and I'm going to help hit everyone's objectives and goals to find a meeting of the minds.
And you only work on exclusive listings? Only.
If you're not exclusive with me, I'm not exclusive with you.
Okay. And how do you convince, because I mean, in Dubai, we're restricted to listing with 3 agents. Yep. Some people will go exclusive, but because the sellers aren't paying, we've kind of got them into a habit of not paying. It's supposed to be 2% seller, 2% buyer. Sellers are getting away without paying because there's so much competition. How do you, if an agent's listing right now is struggling to get their own exclusive listings, what was it for you that worked where you convinced people to go exclusive with you? Apart from this like amazing confidence of like, I'm not dealing with you if you're not exclusive.
So for me, and why I operate this way, is I reinvest a lot of money I make back into my business. And I truly believe the only way to make money is to spend money, and marketing dollars matter. I don't put together shit marketing. I put every product and every property I put out there, I'm really, really proud of the way that it's showcased and the way it's represented online. So in order for me to spend money on your home to make sure that it gets the attention, the exposure, and the representation that it deserves, I need to spend dollars out of my pocket, not out of my brokerage's pocket, not out of the company's pocket, out of Bianca's pocket. Right. So in order to do that, I need to know. We have to commit. If you don't want that, then you can work with any agent that's going to promise you the sun and the moon and the stars. But my experience and my commitment to you speaks for itself.
And you were at the International Property Show yesterday. I was moderating a panel, Women in Real Estate Leadership, and you were like, yes, queening in the corner.
Loved it. It was the best panel I saw. It was amazing.
Thank you. But let's give you your chance to kind of agree, disagree. What resonated with you, and do you feel like women have an advantage or a disadvantage as real estate agents?
I think it depends where you come at it from. I think it's different at different parts of your life cycle, of your career. I definitely saw it as a disadvantage when I started. I was not taken seriously. I was looked at
by buyers or sellers or both?
Both, by industry professionals, buyers, sellers. First of all, I was very young, and I looked very young. Did confidence play a part in that? Yes. But there's also just a component of age and of my gender that I knew was working against me.
It's like, what do you know? You're a kid.
Exactly.
Have you even bought a property? How are you the expert?
Yeah, how are you going to manage and make sure that I get the most amount of money for my most expensive asset in my portfolio? It's like, oh, you have a point. No, I don't own a $10 million apartment at age 22. I can't. But I think, the confidence comes over time. And I think that I found ways at different points in time to lean into it. So while I saw that as a huge hindrance in the beginning, I then started using it to my advantage of, you're right, I am a woman. I am incredibly detail oriented. I am meticulous. I communicate better than anyone. You will hear from me every single day. I will come here and I will make sure that your home is sparkling before any single buyer comes in, and playing into it when I needed to. And then the same thing for age. I needed to eat. I was hungry. And so I was giving every single client, every single listing, my full undivided attention because that was how I was surviving. And I made sure clients know that. Like, you will call me in the middle of the night, I will answer, because I won't pay my rent if I cannot sell your home.
We will starve.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have the advantage, kind of, sometimes.
We do. Listen, and I think that as I've progressed in my career, I mean, 98% of the rooms that I walk into, I'm the only woman in the room. And I think that there's something powerful about that. So while sometimes I look around, I'm like, wow, I'm in a room of all men who are 40, 50, 60 plus years old. But I know the moment that I open my mouth and I start speaking with confidence and conviction and data, and I listen more than I speak, that I immediately can change the perception of everyone, and that I own the room.
She sure does own the room. Okay. Selling the Hamptons, out on HBO Max.
Yes.
Season 2 out now. Reality TV. Helped or hindered your day-to-day?
Oh, day-to-day during filming, challenging. Working 2 full-time jobs, not easy. But in the grand scheme of my business, I mean, it catapulted it. It was,
you got way more inquiries.
It was remarkable.
Okay.
The biggest thing that the show did for me was push me outside of my comfort zone. I was very uncomfortable making myself so raw and vulnerable on TV and in front of everyone. But that's allowed me to change the way that I recruit agents, the people I connect with, the business I'm able to get, because my whole life is out there for the world to see.
And editorial control is with someone else.
100%. So I'm just going to own it. Like, that's my story. That is what makes me so strong. Good, bad, indifferent. There's a lot of ugly in that story, but you know what? That's what makes me truthfully unbreakable. And I think when you're working with someone like that, you want to be around that person.
Yeah.
So I really own that. And so it's given me a whole new level of confidence in owning my vulnerability, owning my authenticity, and the way that I'm able to connect with people.
I love these words, because you're definitely much a yes girl.
I am.
You're like, yes to coming to Dubai to moderate and MC at the International Property Show. She landed in the morning on a 14-hour flight.
Yes.
Straight to the show.
Yes.
She's running around the studio with her suitcases. And then she's going back in a couple of days. But was there any, and you're saying yes. And not to everything, but
there, I've gotten better at things that are become a waste of my time. But for the most part, whenever it's not that, I say yes.
Okay.
Because you have no idea the people who will be in the room, the connections that will come, the conversations you'll have, and just the way that it will change the creativity and the chemicals in your brain to have a different perspective and impact your business.
And so watching the season 1 back, did you see a different light to any of your brokers or agents? Or did they maybe perhaps edit in some bits where they might have been bitching about you? Or did you discover anything watching season 1 back?
Not so much season. I think I look back on it and I say, wow, I was so timid on camera and I was so reserved. I think the experience was so new to me that I was still uncomfortable. You know, you get one shot. Yeah. So it wasn't really until towards the end of filming, where it's like, okay, now we're filming our final episode, that I started feeling a little bit more comfortable. And then I think season 2 posed a whole new set of challenges. Between season 1 and season 2, I got screwed out of a business relationship, and I lost a lot of business from it. Which forced me to create and found my team. I ended a 7-year relationship and moved out of my home. I had some other personal things that happened. It was a huge shift in life that I moved into filming season 2 with. So, and when I look back at that, I say, well, that's life. Yeah. And everyone has a story. And, you just have to own it at the point in time that you're in.
I would have been like, no, we're going to have to cut. We're going to have to stop rolling. I've got some things to deal with.
There's some times that I look at myself on camera and I'm like, gosh, I remember that day. That was such a painful day. And I still, you know what? I still freaking showed up. And I'm going to give myself credit for that. I may not look my best. I may not have performed my best, but I showed up and I put the work in. And now I can look back on it 18 months later and say, I'm just proud of myself and the progress and the growth that I've made along the way. That's the best you could do.
Yeah. And you do show up. You show up for the show. You show up for the gram as well. I've been following you, and no matter how busy your day is, you manage to get a story in, you manage to post. You've got a big following now. And I do believe that, and maybe you've noticed this as well, that the role of a real estate agent is kind of shifting away from the brand as such, more into a micro influencer. Do you agree that that's where we're headed?
I think it's about the personal brand. People want to work with people. You want to shop with your friends, right? So that's really the approach that I take. And Instagram, I mean, has just been remarkable for my business in every single aspect, from recruiting to getting more listings to getting speaking engagements to everything. And it's because I am showing up daily. I truly treat it like a whole other profession. You know, I like the influencer concept and idea, but I also, it's for me because I love being creative and I love actually creating the content and looking back on all of the things that happen in my life and the way that I get to share and storytell and build community around them.
And there was, I saw a reel the other day and I really needed to hear it when I heard it. She was, I can't remember who she was, but she was one of these like personal brand people. And she was like, you need to hear this today. You do not need to be on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. Like choose your one.
I know exactly.
And I needed to hear that because I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, and I only really can jam with Instagram.
I'm totally with you.
So have you shut the others down, or are you just focusing on one? What's your?
So I'm tried to dabble in TikTok here and there. It's unimpressive. Please don't even check it out. We're not there yet because I'm still trying to find my voice. It's a different style of storytelling. And so Instagram has really been my main creative outlet that I love the most. And I think that is very, very accurate. You know, you have to find anything in life, find what you do really well and do more of it and refine the craft and just keep going with it. And over time it will blossom. But to spread yourself thin, it's the same thing with building a business. There's no one who's built multiple successful businesses all at the same time. You build the first one, you get it to a point where it's self-sustained before you could start to grow the next one.
And then when they threw in Threads last year, it was like, no.
Crazy. And there will be 100 more that keep coming. And for me, it's just, I know what the content I like to create and produce, and that feels fun to me. When it starts to feel like too much of a job, I become less interested.
And do you actually get buyers from your Instagram as well?
Buyers, sellers, and developers.
Everything, okay. Because one thing that, so here we've got a lot of agents operating TikTok and Instagram. They're probably the two most most common. I feel like you should be where your ideal client is. So if you're trying to attract maybe 25 plus year olds, they're going to be on Instagram. But if you're trying to attract or recruit 18 to 25 year olds, that's where that's why you have to be on TikTok. So have you kind of nailed your niche and your to
me, it's not about the number of followers or how many likes or how many, and I think that's very, very important. It's taking the vanity component out of it. And it's okay if that is for some. I totally get that as well, because you're building a following. To me, it's about the people I can really connect with, and how I am communicating that. And I just find Instagram tends to be a little bit more of a professional opportunity for me to be creating content with an audience who understands it a little bit better, because a lot of the content I make is around building a business. And so it's all of those non-sexy words to an 18-year-old, like long-term planning and strategic organization. But like the stuff that my developer clients who are 40 plus are like, oh, I want to give her my project because she works around the clock. She's first one in, last one out. She doesn't take no for an answer. All of the things in the messaging I'm sharing on Instagram.
And you look like fun as well. Like this morning she brought her Dyson Airwrap from the US. And I'm sure many of you have been through this, coming from the US to the region or any other region.
Surprise to me. Did not know. That does not work here.
It does not work here. So what does she do? She pulls out the hotel iron and starts ironing. But yeah.
And yes, I have a lot of fun in everything I do. Otherwise, I just couldn't do it at the level that I do.
Yeah. And what would you say to people who are, because it is tough to get behind the camera, to start producing content, to start putting content out there. What would you say to someone who's just a bit shy or nervous and, has a closed profile and doesn't really want to be out there?
It comes with practice. And if you are uncomfortable in the beginning, first of all, you're not going to know what sticks with people until you just try. But for me, it used to take me, 20 or 30 recordings of a story video before I felt confident enough to post it. Yeah. Now I do it in 2 seconds. I click done, and I don't really care what I look like, but that's taken 10 years to get to. So this is not overnight. It's doing it every single day. And I also recognize it myself. Some of my content lands, others flop. Yeah. And then the algorithm will change tomorrow and it will all be different and we start over again. Yeah. And it kind of becomes a game of chess where you're constantly figuring and maneuvering and trial and error. But I just have fun with it. Yeah. To people who haven't done it before or don't have the confidence, just get in front of the camera.
Like my least favorite reel is the most viral one. Yeah. The one where I'm like so cringy, like, oh my God, I hate it. I can't even look at myself. I can't believe I did. Is the one that went viral. And I'm like, okay, what about the stuff that I'm proud of?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, where's all the love for that one? Okay, we're talking about the real estate industry evolving, changing. Have you got any predictions? Being in the US, maybe, I don't know who's more advanced, us here or you there, or are there any shifts that you see on the horizon or any trends in the real estate profession that you see on the horizon?
Oof, that's interesting.
That we should be preparing for now?
I think everyone talks about AI and technology. I have a love-hate relationship with all of those things because I sometimes think the more technology you give people, the less intelligent they become, which is scary to me. I don't ever believe technology will replace the human component of sales. Agreed. So I'm not at all concerned about losing my job or my team or agents losing their job. But I do think that there is a very important and crucial way to lean into a lot of that technology to help streamline, to organize, and to better control your business flow. And once we start embracing some of that, and again, trial and error of what works for you, the same way, CRMs are old news now. Yeah. But there's different CRMs for different people and different personalities. It's the same thing with all of these different AI technologies, but you have to play around with it to figure out, okay, this works for my business or this doesn't. So I think that's something that's really important. And I urge people to get out there and start playing around with how could they use technology to better, to make their business more efficient.
Which business apps could you not live without?
Oh, well, I mean, well, I'm a crazy Excel person, which is not an app. It's a tale as old as time, but I love my Excel databases and pivot tables and charts. So yeah, I'm that person. Yeah. So I'm old school like that.
Once you know how to, if you can do a pivot table,
oh my God,
you are in like next level broker, next level.
So like that is really my jam. But there's a lot of new technology out there that I think is phenomenal.
Organizing your day, like is it Microsoft To Do or Slack or Monday?
I time block every, I want to say minute, but every hour of every single day all week long is time blocked for me. And so I have a practice of it. On Sundays, I sit in the office and I time block my entire week. And so my calendar, if something is not on my calendar, I am not there. And that is the rule of thumb. If it's on there, I will not miss it for the world. So, last night I'm here and I had calls scheduled till 3 a.m. in the morning. And I said, okay, put it on my calendar. And it doesn't matter because it becomes like clockwork. So for me, that's what works for me. I think everyone just needs to find what works with them to make them organize and to help them feel more productive.
And how do you balance it out? Bianca time and work time.
So controversial opinion. I do not believe in the concept of balance. When I was starting my business, everyone's like, you need to find balance. You need to find balance. You need to organize your time better. I believe when you love something, do as much of it all of the time, as often as you can, just throw everything into it. So I have found a way to marry my work and personal life in everything I'm doing. I'm here in Dubai. I'm on vacation. I'm working the entire time because I love visiting development projects and I love podcasts and I love property shows and nothing about this feels like work to me.
True.
You know, I found a way to incorporate. I dance for fun, but how am I incorporating dance into business
estate,
exactly into making content, into growing a brand, into making the relationships between learning new dance moves with how I grew a business. There's all synergies there with everything. So I think it's just finding a way to make your life feel holistic and to have that. My secret is I have fun in everything I do, so nothing ever feels like work.
Yeah, and that's you know, that's something that I kind of not struggling with, because it's not a struggle, but I was like, oh, I kind of left the 9 to 5 world, but now I'm like 9 till 9 or 9 till midnight. And I don't mind it, but it's funny because my mum, she's so used to kind of me being at work.
Yes.
And so now when she calls me, she's like, are you working? You know, she doesn't, she knows that it's out of hours, but she's like, are you working? I'm like, yes.
I'm always working.
Always going to be working. But yeah.
I think that's the biggest misconception with being a real estate broker, being an entrepreneur. You're not doing that to have a more flexible work schedule, to make your own hours.
Yeah.
The reality is you work when everyone else wants you to. Throughout the night because you need to, on holidays because that's when your clients are available, and that's just part of the job.
Are we just trying to retire early, or what's the end goal? Like,
to me, I just want to see how far I could take this. I never ever thought I would be here.
Yeah.
Ever. I wasn't the A student in school.
Me neither.
I never ever could have imagined this life for me. And I think that's so exciting. And I think truly I have this newfound confidence. You know, it's always constantly building on top of your confidence. But and enthusiasm and excitement for life. And I just want to see how far I can take it.
Yeah.
So I have no plan to ever retire. When people are like, what's your financial planning? And at what number do you need to reach in GCI or commission before you pull back? I don't ever want to stop working. I love what I'm doing.
Wait till you hit your 40s. You're going to get a little bit tired.
There will be different ways to do it, but it's who knows where it will go. And it's just, again, shift in mindset.
Okay, so we're going to end it with my my ritual, or my kind of slogan or tagline is, I help people or ambitious and aspiring property professionals with 4 things.
Okay.
Getting started, getting noticed, getting results, and getting referred. I will repeat them back to you one by one. I want to get your words of wisdom for someone who wants to get started in the industry.
Get started in the industry. Understand you're not going to make money in the beginning. You have to work for free, and you should find someone that you can learn everything from. You will get much, much further by collaborating than by treating everyone like they're your competition. So find the right synergy of who you can learn from and build something with someone.
Great. Number 2, get noticed.
Find your voice. Refine your voice.
Ooh, that's a
be
good one.
authentic to yourself. You will never attract the right people around you if you are moving forward with an inauthentic message. So in order to get noticed, you need to be doing something that feels wholehearted and something you're excited by. That's how you're going to get the most notice, because people will know it's coming from the right place.
Okay. Oh, I love that. That's going to be a reel in itself, by the way. Getting results.
Getting results. Never take no for an answer.
Contrary to Silvia's.
I think it's always figuring out, not being pushy, but always finding the creative solution. Like, that gets me so excited. Yeah. How can I do something differently that I've never thought of, that I've never tried? It may fail. Yeah. More often than not, it will fail. But how do I try and push myself out of my comfort zone to find the workaround to make it happen?
And that is something that I've noticed actually in all the top real estate agents, is they are like a dog with a bone.
Yeah.
When I'm there, you know, I'm listening to the deal, I'm listening to the story, and to me it sounds dead. It's dead. Let it go. But they're like, but I'm going to try and do this. And I'm like, just let it go. And they're like, and then it happens. And I'm like, okay.
And it's for me and for a lot of those people, it's not because of the dollar amount of the commission at the end. It's truly being obsessed with the win.
Yeah.
And that's what it is for me.
Competition.
I'm wanting to be a deal maker and make every single, and those are the best stories to tell.
Yeah. And I'm going to write a book one day called Unreal Estate
Yeah.
Memoirs.
Yes.
Because the stories that you could entertain a dinner party for days with the stories that you've gone through and the experiences.
Absolutely.
And the things you've seen.
Oh, for sure.
You know, when you're doing showings on a Saturday morning, you can see a lot. Let's put it that way. You can see a lot. And lastly, how to get referred.
Never be thinking about what can someone do for me. Just come at every relationship, at every conversation of trying to be helpful, to offering your services. And again, it goes back to authenticity. You know, people want to work with me, not because I ask them for business, but because I reciprocate, because I'm collaborative, because I don't look at other people as competition, because they're not. The only person I'm competing with is myself.
Your yesterday.
Exactly. So I think putting that at the forefront of my conversations and my attitude and the energy that I enter a room with, people just naturally become attracted to me because they say, okay, she's not going to be a threat to me. She's not going to steal my business. Yeah. She's not going to stab me in the back. She's someone I genuinely want to collaborate with because she's got her heart's in the right place.
Yeah. And you do. Your heart is in the right place. You're lovely. You're full of energy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for jamming with me on Golden Nuggets with Silvia Eldawi. Any closing remarks?
This was awesome.
Anything you want to say about Dubai?
Oh, Dubai is amazing.
Are we going to see the Masters division coming here anytime
Most
soon?
definitely. I don't know when, but I could say with 100% certainty the Masters division will be expanding to the Dubai market. Hopefully very soon.
Inshallah. You'll learn that one, or if you don't already know it. Thank you so much for being with us, joining us, and don't forget to subscribe.
Awesome.
How do they do in the US?